Our next speaker is Abigail Lewis. As the founding executive director of Golden Rule ReEntry in Medford, Oregon, Abigail Lewis has decades of management experience in small businesses and nonprofit organizations and years of consulting for startup organizations and entrepreneurs. She's uniquely qualified through many years of producing results on behalf of formerly incarcerated individuals through Golden Rule ReEntry, which she founded in 2020. I know she's going to tell you the purpose of Golden Rule ReEntry, but I think it's just so wonderful that I'm going to read it too. Golden Rule ReEntry is a trauma-informed organization that assists the formerly incarcerated by engaging the community. Through its drop-in center, transitional residences, and job readiness training programs for formerly incarcerated adults, Golden Rule fosters connection through kinship, networking, classes, and services with a focus on personal and professional growth. 4 years ago, Golden Rule Reentry was Abigail Lewis in her car. She would find out because she was part of the reentry court that someone was getting released. She would meet them at the door, pick them up, drive them through the beautiful forests of Southern Oregon, take them out for coffee, and ask them, "What do you need?" 4 years later, she's raised more than $2.5 million for Golden Rule Reentry to have a drop-in center, 2 residential homes, and classes for skills and job readiness on an ongoing basis. She and Sol Santos are sharing a computer today, so as soon as she comes back on screen, there she is. I'm sure our tech folks will spotlight and unmute her. And please join me in welcoming Abigail Lewis from Golden Rule Reentry.
Hi, thank you so much, Paul. You're so modest. Paul helped raise all of that money he just mentioned. Thank you, Sol, for such an amazing presentation, and thank you to the organizers of this conference. It's a very important and lots of good information. So I'm very honored to be here. As Paul mentioned, Golden Rule. I'll go over our mission again. It's we were founded in 2020 by me, and we are based in Southern Oregon. So one of the things about Golden Rule is that we are trauma informed, and we assist the formerly incarcerated by engaging the community. That can mean that we have people from just the mainstream population as well as other agencies that work with us. For us, it's very important that we foster connection, because we all know that's an antidote to trauma and addiction. And we do that through kinship. We do that through networking. We do that through classes and services with a focus on personal and professional development. So we're very excited to be able to do that. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of a technical issue. Okay, so let's keep going. Beg your pardon here. Okay. So Golden Rule understands that, contrary to popular belief, people who come out of prison are not the most dangerous people in the world. They are actually some of the most vulnerable people in the world. And so if you want to help this population, you have to take a lot of different things into consideration. And that's why we work with a full spectrum model. We don't just help people get jobs. We don't just help people get housing. We help the whole person. Because if you don't help the whole person, you're not really setting them up for success. And people coming out of incarceration often have issues with addiction. They're on supervision. They can have issues with institutionalization, which means that the way they operate inside may not be beneficial to them as they operate outside. They're always at risk of recidivism, so that monkey is always on their back. And there's a lot of barriers to housing and jobs, other professions. And so we take all that in mind. These are not our programs, but these are some of our focus areas. We, again, you can't work with this population without considering trauma. We do life skills, career support. We offer housing. Kinship is a word that I borrow from Homeboy Industries down in LA. It just means being there for people, being their friend. And of course, you can't do this work without doing resource navigation. So I'd like to talk about, again, what full spectrum support means. And I like to think of this in terms of bricks. When you are an organization, you are required to track everything and report everything. And so the things people want to know about are the bricks. Did this person stay out of prison? Are they housed? Are they employed? Are they staying in recovery? Have they got the tools they need to do well? And these are important. But what we focus on in Golden Rule, it's a little bit harder to measure, and I think of it as the mortar that holds the bricks together. And these are things like, has that person made that inner shift? Have they made a commitment to a better way of living? Have they stopped that criminogenic thinking? We have an organization, a partner organization called Criminon. Criminon is like NA or AA, and we do Criminon meetings here, so for people to address their criminal thinking. It's like a process addiction, like gambling. You think about it, you plan it, you do it, you talk about it. People that have a satisfaction with life. This is a huge thing. And I think I heard somebody else mention it earlier. Just because you have a job doesn't mean you're necessarily satisfied with life. I mean, if you're used to making $1,000 a day selling drugs, is pumping gas at a gas station for minimum wage really going to be all that satisfying? It kind of makes sense why some people jump back into that lifestyle. But if you're living a creative and productive life, if you're part of a community, you're connected to your family, whether it's your actual family or a chosen family, and you're giving back to the community, then you really have something to live for and not go back to prison for. I really like, again, Father Boyle. You'll hear me quote him a lot from Homeboy Industries. He says an employed gang member may or may not go back to prison, and an educated one may or may not, but a healed gang member will never reoffend. And one of the things he said that I think is so profound is that you stand with the least likely to succeed until success is replaced by something more valuable, and that's kinship. You stand with the belligerent and the surly and the badly behaved until the bad behavior is recognized for the language it is, the vocabulary of the deeply wounded and of those whose burdens are more than they can bear. And this is, again, we're trauma informed. It's really important to understand that when someone is acting badly or behaving badly, you don't say what's wrong with you. You ask what happened to you. And so being trauma informed is understanding that most of the folks that have been to prison, if they weren't traumatized prior to going to prison, they're almost certainly going to be traumatized while they're in prison. And for a lot of people, coming out can also be quite a traumatizing experience. If you're not familiar with ACEs, that's the adverse childhood experiences. That can be, there's 10 basic questions, but it's physical, sexual, emotional, psychological abuse, exposure to violence, mental illness, having a parent who's incarcerated. These things can actually cause your brain to rewire in such a way that's brilliant for survival, because you may not be safe at home, but it's not so great in school. So a lot of folks that are exposed to a lot of traumatic events as a child, especially if it's ongoing, have a failure to thrive, which can lead to addiction and antisocial behavior. Once you are incarcerated, you have this loss of self-determination, which is literally the definition of trauma. It's when something awful is happening to you and you don't have the agency to stop it. Being handcuffed and beaten, I can't imagine anything more traumatic than that. Being in prison is often very traumatic. Once you come out of prison, there's often a loss of opportunity. People can't get jobs, can't get housing. They're kind of pushed to the curb. And so this can compound all of these things with a loss of self-worth. So that's why at Golden Rule, everything that we do is a touch point for kindness, because we're trying to make sure that people know if they come through our door, you matter and we care about you. And we're going to just surround you with that energy of love, because we know that's something that maybe you didn't get while you were incarcerated. We do a lot of co-regulation with folks. And again, these are the things that can't be measured. We can't write a grant saying we had 20,000 belly laughs this year, but co-regulation is a way of being with people and just literally being with them, laughing, having a good conversation, doing little things. Like Paul mentioned, I used to buy coffee for people, because just that little gift of a coffee, and then we would drive around and talk, made a difference. It created a bond. And that was very handy when I wanted to help people. They had to trust me, because trust is a big issue. So these are the types of things that we do at Golden Rule. Okay, so this is some of our staff and an idea of some of the things we do. That's Shasta right there up at the top with some of our peer supports and clients. We take our folks to the beach. We have meals together. We do a lot of fun things together because we know that that's how we're going to really make a difference in their lives. But fun is not the only thing we do. This might be a little bit difficult to see this chart. The pink column is peer support and case management. That's a big part of what we do. The green column is career pathways and workforce development, which is obviously these are the bricks. We're going back to the bricks now. These are obviously things that are very important. People need to find work when they get out. The gold column is Golden Rule's drop-in center. We have a hub here in Medford, Oregon. The drop-in center is a place where people can come and they can just hang out. They don't have to have a reason to be here. We have a lounge. We have snacks and coffee and sodas and things that people can do. We have ongoing classes. We're building up starting in January, we're going to have every day, we're going to have things going on. And these classes are taught by our staff, but also by community partners. Anytime we can get someone who's not involved with the justice system or agency people, any just regular people that want to come in and teach a class, we love that because it helps break down that barrier of how people are perceived, because our clients are very they're just people. And sometimes people don't realize people coming out of prison are just people. The blue column there is housing. We offer housing. We have 2 beautiful homes that we offer, and then we are about to open 2 apartments upstairs of our drop-in center. So just to get a little deeper with case management is about setting goals and removing barriers. So that's the main work of our case management system. That's Shasta there. She's also makes referrals to other agencies and helps to get people set up for success. And we back that with peer support. Peer support, there is a whole new field in peer support. Typically, it used to be just peers who had substance use disorder and mental health issues. There's a new category being developed called forensic peer support by the Oregon Health Authority. We're lucky to be on the ground floor of that. And there's a couple of our peers. There's Desmond and there's Brandy, who's also our career pathways case manager. So our peers are there to walk beside our participants, to listen, to support, to help them with whatever they need, give them rides, and to model success. That's a huge part of being a peer, is just to show that you're going to get through this. Just because you went to prison doesn't mean your life is over. In fact, we like to say, just because you have a past doesn't mean you can't have a future. Let's see. One of our programs is a workforce development program. Again, looking at the full spectrum, we decided that it wouldn't be as impactful just to teach someone how to do something. So we got a grant to do a manufacturing workforce development program, and we called it the Prison to Prosperity Pipeline. But instead of just teaching manufacturing basics, we taught financial literacy, we taught basic computer skills. We had a nutritionist come in, and she actually went to the house they were living at as a cohort. They actually did cooking in their kitchen. We did community service. We did a lot of community service because that's a way to engage with the community, build relationships, and also work on the shame piece if people are not feeling good about themselves and their past. We did a lot of employability skills. We had personal development throughout the whole program for 6 months. We toured manufacturers. We did an online certification course, and we engaged at the local community college in manufacturing. We got career coaches, and throughout this whole time, we housed our cohort, and we gave them stipends so that they did not have to get jobs right out the gate. And this is an example of a schedule. Those are the just sort of different areas: personal development, technology, financial management. So we just kind of kept them busy all day. It was almost like college. We just said, you have to be here at a certain time, better get there. And they all did. And it was a really wonderful experience for them and for us. Part of the employability skills it's something also in Oregon. They are developing, the state has developed what's it called, a rubric of employability skills. And Craig Campbell, I love this quote. He says it's a mistake to focus solely on technical skills and neglect employability skills. Technical skills might get you in the door, but employability skills turn one open door into a multitude of growth opportunities. And that sentence says so much, and that is a big part of why at Golden Rule we network, and we try to get people from the community in all the time, because as you know, it really is sometimes that connection or who you know that can get you that job or that opportunity. And so we're always working with our folks to help them understand that social capital piece of being out in the world. Because again, when you're institutionalized, the eye contact, the sharing, there's a lot of things that are appropriate inside that don't really work to your advantage when you're on the outside. This is one of our community partners. The Jackson County Library likes to come in once a month and they do a one-on-one support session with our clients. It can be cell phones, it can be computers, whatever they need, because we have found that our participants don't do as well with Zoom or online type teaching. They really do best with one-on-one. So as much as we can, we try to do clinics and one-on-one support rather than just academic style classes or online training. That's actually our old drop-in center, but I chose this picture to show our gardens. We grow plants on site. We're growing lettuces, and we are going to be doing salad kits. It's part of our nutrition and urban farming program. And that flyer that says easy as pie, I included it because we're doing it on Tuesday once again. It's super fun. It's a pre-Thanksgiving event we do, where we provide the dough and we provide the fillings, and you just roll out the dough, make the pie, and we cook them together as easy as pie. And that way we have a good time, we laugh, and everybody has something to share on Thanksgiving Day. These are some of the classes, or we have other support groups and events. We try to keep our folks socially engaged so they have that connection and pro-social activities. The final piece is our Golden Rule Residential. We have, as I mentioned, we have 2 beautiful houses, and they're very close to our drop-in center. We have house managers. Our house managers are actually trained as peer supports as well. We are about to open 2 apartments above our drop-in center, which we're very excited. This is going to be what we're calling halfway home instead of a halfway house. And this is so that the folks coming directly from prison into our program can live upstairs. We'll give them a small stipend, we'll pay for their rent, and they can come downstairs to the drop-in center, meet with our case management, meet with our peers, do all the classes. We'll take care of their driver's license issues. We help them with their credit scores. We look at their child support issues, just any kind of thing that might be a barrier or problem. We take a look at that and help them clear that up so that when they are ready to join the job market, they haven't got these type of barriers that could have been dealt with. One of the problems I see is that if people get a job too quickly, then they don't have the resources to deal with these things. So my time's up, so I'll go super quick. This is one of our houses. You can see we make them really nice. This is one of our other houses. This is us having a meal together, celebrating a birthday. These are some upcoming programs. We have urban gardening program that's going to be coming up. We're also going to open a community podcast studio so that our participants can not only tell their story, which can help people in the mainstream world understand what it's like to overcome trauma and prison, but also so that each one of our participants has like an asset. So if they're looking for a job or looking for a house, if they like their podcast, they can actually share that with their future landlord or employer. We're also going to interview agencies so they can talk about how they help with services to help educate people. So I want to thank you all we'd love for you to support our work. You can visit our website. Paul may post in the chat. There is a document that has a more comprehensive overview of what we do. And I want to close out with this quote, also by Father Boyle. And he says, imagine a circle of compassion. Imagine no one standing outside that circle. We move ourselves closer to the margins. I was crying. We move ourselves closer to the margins so the margins themselves will be erased. We stand with those whose dignity has been denied, and we locate ourselves with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. At the edges, we join the easily despised and the readily left out. We stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And we situate ourselves right next to the disposable. So that day will come when we stop throwing people away. And that's what we want to do at Golden Rule. We want to stand with people and acknowledge their humanness. Thank you, everybody, for your time. And I sure do appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I'm honored and grateful to be your colleague. I'm kind of selfish. I also am a board member of Golden Rule ReEntry, and the quotes by Father Boyle are great, and they were very eloquent. But I think you embody the true definition of kinship, and that's being your presence, and establishing a culture within the organization to create a family bond and a unit, not only with the staff, but those that you serve and the community leaders and those who actually donate into the organization because they know the work that you guys that we're doing is very impactful. So while I'm waiting to see any questions in the chat, I'd like to ask, how did you develop your passion to give your purpose and your passion to be present in the lives of those who are marginalized in our communities?
Thank you. Thanks. And I really appreciate Dr. Dwayne here. It's very good to see you. I've always wanted to work with people in prison. And life, you know how life is, it takes you in different directions. And I've always been interested. I don't really have a good explanation other than people that I know and love have had experiences of incarceration. And I saw how the trauma impacted them. When I learned about trauma and really started studying trauma, especially complex PTSD, it was like a curtain went up and I suddenly understood so many people. I understood, wow, all these people that act in this way that's not helping them, it's because they have trauma, unhealed trauma from their childhoods. So that was a big piece of it. And then the other big piece of it was actually, no big surprise here, Homeboy Industries. When I saw that video called Healing Trauma, and it is on the Golden Rule website, and Father Boyle talked about creating a culture of extravagant tenderness. It was that word, extravagant tenderness. I realized that I could do this because that was the angle I wanted to come from. I never wanted to be part of like the machine. And I just realized that it was time now. The world was ready to accept an organization that could just love people. So that's what we do. We love people. So each person's individual. And we really do strive to be relational and not transactional. It breaks my heart when someone just comes in and wants something and then leaves and we never see them again. We want people to come in and really, we want to get to know them because we want to support.
Okay, so thanks for your answer. We have two technical questions. One is, please say more about forensic peer support and how the state of Oregon is providing funds.
Okay, what was the second part of the question?
How the state of Oregon is providing funds for the organization.
Oh, okay. So forensic peer support, I really don't know if it's national. I do know that the Oregon Health Authority is developing a best practices for forensic peer support. Once I'm not speaking, I will put a link to a PDF so people can download it if they would like to see it, if you guys have your own organizations. It is kind of the trifecta of stigma. It's mental health, substance use disorder, and incarceration. And so forensic peer support is not only looking at the extra layer of stigma, but it's also looking at when we work with people, we want to make sure that we're not, we're not inadvertently encouraging them to break a law. We're encouraging them to follow what their parole officer is asking them to do and things like that. But I will share a link to the PDF once I'm not here on the screen to that. And then as far as state funding, Paul Sheldon, who introduced me, he is our development director and has been instrumental along with Andrew Mount, our grants administrator. What we do is we've looked at all the angles. So we actually haven't received yet any justice related grants, but what we have done is we have received grants. We've written and received grants for preventing homelessness, because anybody coming out of incarceration, unless they have family to go to, is by default homeless. Once that, they'll go to a transition center, but after that, we're there to catch them. So that was one of the pots of money that we were able to get funded from. Another one is substance use disorder. We have Measure 110 here, so we've written grants for that. And then workforce development. Oregon had a Future Ready. We've been very blessed because along with LGBTQ, BIPOC, tribal, veteran, women, they're now adding formerly incarcerated as a priority population. So we're really blessed in that we're kind of like we're surfing the wave of these social reforms that are happening, at least in Oregon. So workforce development, substance use disorder, and workforce development are the sort of the angles that we've been really looking at.
So there's two additional questions. How long does the resident stay once they're in the program? And what relationships, what partnerships have you developed with the prisons, whether they're state or federal?
So, good questions. We have different programs within our housing. We have decided on, we're still very new. We only started in 2020 and our first house opened last year. So, we have decided that for our general housing, the best model is 18 months. We feel like a year might be a little too short and 2 years might be a little too long. So we've kind of landed on 18 months as our general rule of thumb. However, the halfway home housing apartments that are above our drop-in center, those are going to be 6 months only, and they're going to only be for people coming directly from prison to us. It just gives them that 6 months to get their feet on the ground. Our other program, the Prison to Prosperity Pipeline, which was that workforce development. I didn't mention this at the time. We've designed it so that we focus on the housing, the stipend, the life skills, and employability skills, and then we partner with whatever industry. So we're going to partner, we just did manufacturing, we're about to do construction, we're about to do agriculture, and we're also looking at doing an IT technology type of industry. But that's a tangent. That program, the Prison to Prosperity program, it's 6 months. But we gave the folks, it's a residential based program. Once folks got into that program, it ended after 6 months, but we gave them an additional 6 months in the house. They did not pay rent the first 6 months. After they graduated, we gave them a free month of rent. And then the next month they have a nominal rent of $500 a month for the next 5 months until they have to find their own housing. Now we're trying to purchase some more housing. So we would like to do a step up type program where we go from a very controlled house to a less controlled house. And I just got introduced to the concept of we could literally just be a second chance property manager. So, I might become a real estate mogul before this is over, but we may get apartments and houses we can just have people live in, and we're not really programming. But sorry, I talk so much, but anybody who comes to Golden Rule, you have lifetime access to us. So if you've ever come to our houses or lived in any of our, gone through any of our programs, you'll have access to our drop-in center, our case managers and peers indefinitely.
Great.
So
Thank you so much. How many clients can you serve in your area? And what % of your clients have mental illness? And
we're
is
serving
VOA, yeah, and the last question was, and I
Oh.
know we got to get to the next speaker here, is VOA, Volunteers of America, your partner for homes?
I'm sorry, what was the last question?
Maybe you can answer these questions in the chat. It says, how many clients can you serve in your area? What % of your clients have mental illness? And is Volunteers of America your partner for homes?
No, VOA is not a partner with our homes. We serve, if you count people that just walk through our door one time up to the people that we see every day, I'd say we're serving approximately 300 people. And
Okay.
yes, pretty much everyone has some form of not everyone, I don't have an exact percentage for you, but if you're counting depression and PTSD amongst mental illness diagnosis, I would say probably over 95%.
Okay.
We don't work with, there's a word for it, in people that have intense, persistent mental illness. We're not really equipped to deal with people that are dissociative or have hallucinations. We're not therapists, so we would refer out. But we work with everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.